Good afternoon. A quote by Bernard Beckett says, "Human spirit is the ability to face the uncertainty of the future with curiosity and optimism. It is the belief that problems can be solved and differences resolved. It is a type of confidence." When asked to make a recommendation for a student speaker for this commencement, Lisa Kimberlin came immediately to my mind. Lisa and I met in the last course of her online MSN program, the Applied Management Capstone course. I was her professor. As a student, she exuded the type of confidence to which Beckett refers. In our first few communications online and via phone, it became immediately apparent to me that Lisa was a very astute student with a strong sense of curiosity, optimism, and resolve. She was quite tenacious in the completion of her coursework and possessed a steadfast determination to finish the course and the program well. She succeeded. Today, Lisa Kimberlin is graduating with a Master's of Science in Management degree. The title of her completed graduate thesis is, "How can IWU National and Global utilize departmentally diverse teams, committees, and task forces to enhance the decision-making process and improve interdepartmental communication?" Like many of you graduates here today, Lisa juggled the responsibilities of family, work, and school. She and her husband, Michael, have been married for 21 years. They have 4 children and 8 grandchildren and reside here in Marion. She has worked at Indiana Wesleyan University for 13 years, the last 3 of which have been in adult enrollment services. Lisa shared that she is looking forward to doing all the things she didn't have time to do while in school for the last 6 years. Please welcome Lisa Kimberlin.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Indiana Wesleyan University for the honor of speaking during today's graduation ceremony. I'd also like to thank my family and friends, who are scattered probably throughout, for their beyond awesome support over not just the last 18 months, but the last 6 years. I could not have done it without you. So, fellow graduates, how many of you were afraid to go back to school? Anybody? Did you have questions floating around in your head of how you'll manage, when you'll find the time, and why in the world am I doing this? If you started your program without any of these thoughts, congratulations. I most certainly did not. Many of you have heard the phrase, "fear is a liar," and may consider it rather cliche. For me, this phrase resonates in my life in a very real way. Back in 1987, fear kept me from returning to my second year of college. While that decision alone wasn't necessarily wrong, it did start me on a path that did not always include a close relationship with Christ. I allowed Satan to lead me on a not-so-merry chase that lasted off and on for almost 12 years. During that time, I had children, got married and gained 2 more children, moved several times, and lost my mom and a baby. While I did find my way back to a solid relationship with Jesus, I can assure you that in the midst of all these life changes, finishing my education was not even a blip on the radar. In 2006, God brought our family to northern Indiana to work with youth and music at a local church. Shortly after that, I found myself working here at Indiana Wesleyan. Growing up in the Nazarene Church, I had never heard of IWU before, but new friends raved about the school and its programs. Almost immediately after being hired, supervisors and coworkers started talking to me about finishing my degree. I'd start to talk myself into it, but unfortunately, fear would again rear its ugly head, reminding me of the classes I'd failed back in the day and how I'd probably just fail again. I watched as coworkers and friends got their degrees with the adult online programs. They talked about how great it was and how much easier it was to manage since it was only 1 class at a time. You can relate, right? 1 class at a time? They talked about all of that, and still I said no. Finally, there was one coworker who felt the same way I did, but jumped into it anyway and succeeded. If she could, maybe I could too. Still scared, I finally did something I hadn't done before. I prayed and asked God what he wanted me to do. Better late than never, right? He showed me that fear was the only thing standing in my way and reminded me that this feeling did not come from him. While it still took some time, I finally gave in and started my associate's program, knowing that I had the support of God and those closest to me. My plan was quite conservative: finish my associate's and then get my bachelor's. No way was I going any further than that. 6.5 years later, here I stand, and I've already received my master's degree. How in the world did that happen? Honestly, only by the grace of God. I've lost count of how many times I've been frustrated and wanted to quit. How many times an instructor, friend, or family member had to talk me off a ledge. How many times I didn't get to participate in an activity, and how many times I let to have my husband and my youngest daughter handle the chores. I'm not alone. My situation is not unique. Many of you have experienced similar and even more extenuating circumstances. Though one of the best of my life, the hardest season was a crazy busy summer last year when I thought I'd lose my mind trying to keep up with schoolwork, moving into a new house, one daughter graduating from high school, and another getting married. And those last 6 weeks, wow, who knew you could get senioritis in a graduate level program? I'm sure my family and friends got sick of hearing me say, I quit, where's the beach, and who can I pay to write this capstone for me? Right? Thankfully, everything wasn't negative. I also experienced a lot of positives. Looking back, I realized that I enjoyed most of my classes. Sorry, that doesn't include finance or econ. I discovered an inner strength that has allowed me to persevere in spite of the difficulties, and I also loved the times I could provide help and encouragement to my classmates. I've learned a lot about myself and about trusting God through this IWU journey. While I still have a lot more to learn, the fact that I finished strong is a testament to God's love, grace, and the fact that fear doesn't have to control us. Deuteronomy 31:6 says we should be strong, courageous, and unafraid because God is with us and will never leave or forsake us. I'm sure we'll all face fear in the future, but when we choose to ignore Satan's garbage and allow God to lead us, we can face down those fears with confidence, knowing that he'll be there to help us overcome them. Thank you.